we've got like a range of coaches here that have had different experiences with IGLs and IGLing. I mean, Minnie, I feel like you've been extremely attached to someone who takes a lot of that burden upon himself. I think when I think of Boaster, I think of someone who's kind of like a born to IGL type of guy. Whereas if you looked at the opposite side of that, Sliggy worked with a team who nobody wanted to be an IGL. And then Bonkar, you've had to go almost, Ethan did call last year. He called in 2024, but it wasn't very successful. And then you've been working with him this year to get to the point where he's been extremely successful by the end of the year. His attack side calling at Champs was better than I've ever seen his attack side calling. So like when you're looking at these teams that don't have a natural IGL, is there a playbook for taking a player and turning them into one? Or like, what are you even looking for in that sense?
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think there is a playbook. There is playbooks because it depends on who you're trying to get into IGLing. Like my road with Ethan it was just already mid-run calling and I had to explain to him that he was essentially already IGLing. He didn't even need to put a label on it, to be honest. It's just about building protocols and like rules with your IGL of like, how do they naturally call without any coaching or anything? Like their ranked calling style, yeah, and then just building on top of that if it makes sense. So it's just natural for them all the time, and then maybe you have to force certain rules and protocols onto them. I definitely think it's possible. It's hard, yeah. I mean, you don't know how they're gonna improve in the IGLing aspect, and like how much it's gonna take away from them as an individual player as well. Like that's the big thing with some IGLs. They just 100% focus on calling all the time, so their individual performance just drops like crazy. It's also team you have around the IGL. Do you have a lot of people that is vocal who will help the IGL? Do you really need to mid-run call that much? Do you only need to like call strats pre-barrier? Because that's very easy. You can just call, okay, let's 5-man default B, or just have a set strat or whatever, and then everyone just fills in. It depends a lot on the team. And then when it comes to the coaching staff, it's just like you just need to provide like things to do all the time to like move forward with the person. Like you need to be very good at explaining and visually showing why something isn't good and why something isn't working, and then also why things are working. You know, like they might say, well, this call worked the last time. It's like, well, why didn't it work this time? You need to like somehow get through to them on a human level, and I think that's like the hard part.
Yeah, I was going to say the irony for me is that I've started thinking this year about the fact that I think there's coaches matter not as much as the IGL in those situations where you're picking up an IGL who might not be that experienced. Because if the coach isn't able to do certain strategic styles, that means the IGL is going to suffer a lot, in my opinion. So like the strategic style you're probably looking at if you're picking up an inexperienced IGL is a more basic round barrier type of calling, or even you're not expecting as much of the mid rounding. I think Ethan is a case where he actually is a bit more experienced and knows how to do IGLing. So yeah, I think it's on the coach as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, if you're a coach that isn't as great at setting up a bunch of different pre-round tactics, you're probably not going to do well with somebody who
and then understanding where the limitations of that is and how to naturally grow out of that. Like when I worked at Boaster at the start of Summon FC, the irony that he's apparently the slowest caller in the world is funny, because when we started Summon FC, it was like he just made strats and we built him up over time to get used to doing the mid-rounding. The irony now that he needs to go back and take some of that stuff that he was doing at the start probably and kind of mix it up. But yeah, you just do that. You do what me and Boaster were doing at the start, I think.
I think just giving people set strats as well can just help so much, especially if they're like well thought through. But I think Bonkar touched on like the main thing. I think once you have like protocols in, and it's like this happens, and then this is like something that you can do, or this person needs to take space, and then they can kind of control the round a bit more, then it just becomes like a lot easier. Once you get into those situations, you know either you need to do this or we can do this, then it becomes like a lot easier. As long as everyone just like knows the situations and how it, like what is the best thing to do on this map. It helps a lot when you have like a good sentinel, to be honest, that can actually just like take
space, feeding information, that kind of thing on the other side of the map away from the
It's essentially like a lot of guiding, because you can have one round, and that one round can end in 25 different ways, dependent on what comp you play against, dependent on how the enemy reacts. So it's like you just need to understand it yourself, and again, like you need to explain it and show it in a good way so it actually falls into them, and that they think about it in a high pressure situation of like, oh, this happens, like X happens, so now I need to do Y because of the comp, because of the map, because of strat, whatever it may be, that this ult is on board. So like you just need to, it's a never ending thing, yeah, with the pathways that you're finding to like how you can call in Valorant, because there's so many variations dependent on who you play, what comp they have, what ult is available, abilities, all of these things. Yeah, so it's just protocols and grinding, and like not losing your old protocols as well, like forgetting about them, just like constant reminders of how to play the rounds.